Over the weekend, LeBron was seen coaching up his son Bronny while playing in a high school showcase. The event was held at LeBron's high school, St. Vincent, St. Mary, where the gym is now named after LeBron. And during one of the games, the arena announcer hinted that Bronny got a favorable foul call only because of his name. LeBron took offense to the statement and confronted the announcer mid-game. So, Shannon, was this out of bounds for LeBron to confront the announcer during the game? What'd you make of it?
No, because the announcer's job is to provide a commentary of the game, not an editorialization of what he thinks transpired. The only reason he said that because he said that Bronny got a call because of his dad. Well, you said what the hell you said only because of his dad. Because I'm sure there are other guys. I wonder how many times the Barry brothers had to go through that. Oh, you only got that call because your dad was, you know, Rick Barry. You don't do, come on, Skip.
The Barry sons.
Yeah, the Barry sons. Skip, you don't do that. Nobody said, oh, Grant Hill only got that because his dad was Calvin Hill. His dad was an NFL player. You don't do that. That's a kid. LeBron James Jr. understands that that name is a blessing and a curse.
I'd say.
A blessing and a curse, Skip, because he gets an opportunity to go to the best trainers. He gets the best nutrition. He gets the best of everything. But the moment they like, LeBron James Jr., everybody's like, okay. So now he thinks he's about to get this. He's about to get that. That's one of the reasons I didn't give my son, make him a junior. Because I wanted him, Skip, to be able to, whatever it is, I wanted him to be able to do it and to feel like he accomplished something on his own. And not because of his dad, who his dad was. And for this announcer to take a little pot shot, just talk about what you're seeing. I don't get it. It's just someone's always trying to take a shot at LeBron, even though LeBron is, you know, he's very involved with his son, with his kids. And I think that has a lot to do, Skip, because his dad wasn't there in his life. And he says, I'm never going to be what my dad was, which is absent. So he's like, he goes out of his way. And yeah, he's animated. I love it. I love the fact that he's involved in Bronny's life. He's going to be involved in Bryce's life. He's going to be involved in Zuri. He's going to be right there with his cheerleading or whatever it is that she does. He's going to be right there just as animated. But I thought it was a cheap shot on the announcer to frame it like this. He could have said, you know what? It seemed like there was a lot of favorable calls going on. And left it at that. We've heard him say that, Skip. Oh, when Michael played, that seemed like that's a home cooking call. But to take it to where he took it, I don't agree with that. And LeBron, I believe, was well within his right to step in and say, bro, that was unnecessary.
So you were good with him stopping the game to go confront the guy?
Yes.
Okay. So let's start by framing this with what it was. This was an exhibition AAU basketball game being played back in LeBron's stomping grounds, where it all started in the gym at St. Vincent, St. Mary's in Akron.
The gym that Bron built.
He made it famous. He made it famous. He put it on the international map. And the team that Bronny plays for is called Strive for Greatness, which is obviously LeBron's motto. So LeBron is the driving force behind this team. So LeBron obviously wants to be front and center for all of Bronny's games. It's different with every dad. Every dad takes a different path. And when it comes to parenting, you should do, it's none of my business or your business or anybody else's. You choose whatever you think is right.
Skip.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of times my son didn't even know I was there.
I just watched my Vanderbilt team in the College World Series, and they had two famous young pitchers, Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter. And obviously, Kumar's father was a great SEC football player at Auburn. He's now a coach for the Eagles. And he just sat quietly next to his wife and I think tried to just contain his emotions, you know, but up in the stands, kind of up back portion of the stands. And then Al Leiter was obviously a very famous pitcher for the Mets and some others. But the point was, Al just tried to sit with his family and keep score and keep a lid on his emotions. Well, LeBron's going to be front and center because that's his personality. Plus, it's back in his stomping grounds. So the point on the announcer was, I got the feeling, and I wasn't there, but I got the feeling it was that Rucker Park vibe where he was trying to add a little flavor to the game with his commentary as a PA announcer. You know how it goes at Rucker Park, because they're going to really spice it up, And I do think he went completely over the edge to suggest that Bronny got a call because LeBron was in the house or that he's LeBron Jr. And yet, I do think LeBron crossed the line to to stop the game and go confront the guy.
Right.
That could have been done after the game to me because it was not fair. I agree with you. It's not fair to the kid. You can argue it's fair enough to LeBron because he's a grown man, a professional, you know, with the face of the NBA.
Right.
And yet I would have hoped LeBron would have just given it one of these at the guy, you know, just scoffed at it or rolled his eyes or shook his head or whatever, instead of stopping the game to walk down the road to confront him during the game.
Right.
Was he justified in doing it? Yeah, he was justified. I just don't know if that's the right time and place to do that. Okay, now let's go bigger picture. Again, I agree with your take about it's great that LeBron is there. We've talked a lot about LeVar Ball on the show. It's great. It does my heart good to see how actively involved he is in every one of his sons' lives. And on a personal note, I wish I had had LeBron as my father or LeVar as my father because when my father was around, which wasn't much, he was abusive. And the thought of my father ever coming to any of my football, basketball, or baseball games was
Didn't cross your mind.
I never expected him to be there. In fact, I didn't want him to be there. But I was the oldest, and I wish I'd had the guidance of a LeBron or a LeVar who did know what they were talking about. And LeBron's doing great things for Bronny, but after a while in the game Saturday, I started wondering, well, was this more for the father or for the son? Because it was a homecoming. And I'm sure LeBron's heart was just exploding with old memories of what he did in that building to the point where he couldn't contain himself. He had to get on the floor at halftime and show Bronny some moves, you know?
Skip, that's how my brother was. When I would come, I'm 3 years younger, so he was off in college, and he would come back, we played a basketball game. He would come down and say, well, I think this is what you need to do. This is how they're playing you. This is what you need to do. We run track meet, Skip. He would come out in the stands, and or he was like, okay, on the triple jump, you need to either come forward or you need to move back. And I'm sure, and obviously he was not the known player that LeBron James is.
But for those who don't know, Sterling was a great football player, and he would be right along with you in the Hall of Fame. He would have beaten you to the Hall of Fame if he hadn't gotten hurt with a disc injury.
In his neck. So for me, Skip, to have him there, that was something that none of my teammates had, or very few other, I don't think anybody else that was in high school at the time had a brother that was in college that could tell me things that would help me win a meet or win an event. So for me and for LeBron James to have, Skip, I mean, think about that. You got arguably the greatest player in your house that can tell you what you're doing right and wrong to help you get better.
Absolutely.
Where else can I get? People pay to go to people like LeBron to get that information. I ain't got to do nothing. I can just go knock on the door. Hey, Dad, what do you think about this?
Okay, did it bother you at all that Sterling would come down and sort of upstage the game for a second to show you to do, or the track meet or whatever it was?
No, I would look for him because he would tell me he was coming, and it was a blessing and a curse, Skip, because I'm looking the first quarter, he hadn't arrived yet. I'm looking for him. Okay, I need to know. Okay, then in the track meet, he would surprise me sometimes, and I could hear him. Okay, this is what you need to do.
Okay.
So it did me good, and I'm sure it does Bronny good. But Skip, this is it. This is the blessing and the curse that LeBron James Jr. is going to have to for the rest of his life. That's it. Can you imagine? It's with any great. Skip, Magic, whether it's Magic, Kareem, it doesn't matter. King Griffey, I had King Griffey Jr. on my podcast, Skip, and he said his dad, he could never perform when his dad was there. So his dad would pull up in the Winnebago. The Winnebago was just parked down there. He cranked one over the fence. His dad would get out. It's about time you did something and go back in the Winnebago.
And so, why couldn't he perform with his father there?
Because he has too much expectations. Yes,
like,
his dad's a major leaguer. I want to do good. I want to do good. His mom, his dad wouldn't even go and say, "I'm just go." He told his wife, "Say I'm not going to go to the game. You just tell me what to do." So what did he do? Well, he had 3 homers and a double. He's like, "Why the hell you can't do that when I'm there?" He would just put so much pressure on himself. And so, can you imagine what it's like, Skip? To play in front, I mean, all the kids get excited. Man, LeBron at my game. I'm in the same house as this guy every single night. Drake come to my game. This guy comes to my game. It's different. It's different.
I would say, as you said, it's hard enough to carry the namesake.
Yes.
He is LeBron Jr.
Yes.
And will always be
Yes.
LeBron Jr.
Yes.
And I hope I read this right, because I looked it up before the show, but on October 6th, he turned 17. Does Bronny, he feels like he's forever 14
Right.
to me. Like I was thinking he was 14 the other day.
Right.
But he's 16.
Right.
And he's going on 17.
Right.
So these are prime time months for him as he grows toward whatever he's going to become
Right.
as a basketball player. And he's improved. He had that one tomahawk dunk, and he had a
big
really
three.
sweet up and under. He had a big three, but he had a real sweet from
Up
the
and
left
under,
side
yeah.
and up and under with his right hand up off the glass.
Skip, he tried to okay, he goes by Bronny James, but you ain't fooling nobody. Everybody know what Bronny's short for.
Yep. And then the irony was it comes down to a last shot, and LeBron's right there on the baseline in the corner.
Right.
And I admired the kid for having the guts, because his father's saying, get a bucket, because they needed, well, it was to win the game, because it went to overtime.
Right.
And Bronny comes right to LeBron.
Right.
He bolts right to the corner and gets the inbounds and goes straight up and
Right.
shoots it,
Right.
left it just a little short.
Right.
On the, I guess it would have been a three
It would have been
to
a
win
three.
the game, right?
Yeah, it was a 3.
Yeah, and they lost by 4 in overtime. So, what a day! But LeBron, it's his personality. He's going to be front and center. He's
Yes.
going to be right in the middle
Right.
of all of it.
And I just, people just makes it personal. They would have never said that about any other kid. I get it. It's in where LeBron played at, and it's his son. But don't do the kid like that. Because you're making it seem like the kid can't play, and the only reason he's really out there and is because of his dad.